This is a free podcast from the BBC. For more information, you can go to our website, bbc.co.uk/Radio 2.
Oh, lark rise this morning. It was a winter wonderland. I tell you, I had some job trudging all the way to Candleford. And the warning is, of course, as you've heard, ad nauseum, and will throughout the day, is really, unless your journey is absolutely necessary, don't do it. I'm amazed. I was amazed on the M4. Well, I was amazed by several things. Mainly, I didn't see a single gritting lorry in an hour, and 26, 27 miles, not one. Similarly, in London, not one to be seen. Yeah. How long have we known that it's going to be snow and ice? Please, enough. What I did see was a man on a motorbike who I admired him enormously, and coming up Park Lane, which has hardly been treated at all, coming up Park Lane, a man in shorts, on a bicycle in shorts. Oh, it restores your faith. Oh, what a pickle. Hey, heavy snow, freezing temperatures, wildcat strikes, unions shouting, 3-day weeks, no trains or buses running, countries in recession, being told to buy British. Is it 1979? Brian Sewell was writing. I see that £9.1 million has been paid at auction for a Turner, making it one of the largest sums paid for a British master. Lovely to see, but she's put all her troubles behind her. I expect she won't have to do any more TV unless she wants to. No, Brian. No, it's not Anthea. It's another Turner. 2nd of February, eh? You've noticed, Sally. Sally Forth. Makes a good one to get past her, and she's up in Scotland. A very versatile day. Not only is it cross-quarter day, halfway between the winter solstice and the spring equinox, it's also Candlemas and Groundhog Day, as well as Imbolc, one of the 4 principal festivals of the Wheel of the Year, celebrated among neo-pagans and Wiccans. Yes, I think I knew Wiccans. And St. Bridget's Day. Oh, don't be talking now. I thought St. Bridget had been struck off. Anyway, therefore of particular interest to the Scots, the Irish and all other folk roaming in the gloaming of the Celtic twilight, come to our attention that since your show consists of an Englishman reading the news, a drunken Irishman playing the records, a bit of Welsh skirt reading the travel, and a Scotsman producing the whole rabble, we feel that costs for your show can be drastically cut. This must be from somebody senior at the BBC. This means that as of next week, we'll be bringing in Italian and Portuguese labourers to... now, come on. Pleased to see BBC Breakfast. I miss it. I do, not deliberately. I have to come in here, you understand. Tansy has kept up its tradition of pushing that poor weather girl outside. Stick him out, just in case we don't understand what snow looks like. They've built a snowman for her to stand beside. Andy says, I'm working from home today, and I think anybody who does that, or who can do it, indulge themselves, they should do so. Don't bother moving, at least not this neck of the woods. I mean, I realise it's not snowing in Somerset, for instance. Did you see the tennis? Oh, what a magnificent final. Isn't it always magnificent between Nadal and Federer? Probably the 2 greatest tennis players I've watched. And I've watched a lot of them. However, the Australian public, photographers and officials, seemed unimpressed. What Gottlieb Gurr. By the time the presentations were made and the speeches, most of the public had legged it. They're getting in out of the heat. And the photographers remained just long enough to get their kissing the trophy shots, and then they disappeared, and the officials had also melted away. So Rafa Nadal, who'd won the title, was on his own to try and juggle his bag, his rackets, his trophy, his stuffed koala, and the winner's cheque. He then wandered over to the few remaining fans and signed autographs. I wonder if they left him a note asking him to turn the lights off. I don't know. But I didn't see that. I just saw the tennis, which was just wonderful. I've waxed the skis, says Downby Shy, polished the sledge runners, the pipe, the carrot, 2 pieces of coal, the scarf and the hat are in the garden at the ready, but we've no snow. How about you? Well, haven't we mentioned it? And back home in Umeå in Sweden, the snow most years lies on the roads, usually as ice, for about 4 or 5 months. During this period, you're obliged by law to wear snow chains or snow ties. I moved over here, says Lars. I moved over here for the warm weather. It's not cold, he says. This is a snow flurry. A snow flurry, eh? Well, it's enough to reduce one of the major cities in the world to complete motionless Listening to you from Zurich in Switzerland, just to cheer you up. Now, here's one that's going to cheer us up. Thank heaven. I'll tell the truth. The first time it snowed here in Zurich this winter, everything stopped. Total traffic chaos, and it snows here every year. So Swiss efficiency is actually a myth. So let's hear no more about how well other countries cope. Everybody's coping just as badly as we are. And Monday again, another week of listening to you. Do you know that when I first listened, I didn't have to dye the grey bits out of me hair? Well, we've a little hint about that from Larkrise to Candleford. Yes, little gems. A black feather, a silver sixpence, and a sprig of rosemary under the pillow. That's how you prevent grey hair. There are a few similarities between times in Larkrise and the present day. Now look, people get very picky. A gift-wrapped scarlet ribbon will still bring a blush to a girl's face. And there always seems to be a queue at the post office. Yes, it's quite like it. So young Laura was in charge of the Candleford post office this week, due to Safi from AbFab being indisposed. And when she opens the place for business, first thing in the morning, she finds the entire population of Larkrise queuing outside, showing their support. Now, unless there's been a major shift in the tectonic plates, causing a dramatic change in the geography, Larkrise is still 9 miles from Candleford. We know that. They measured it in the first episode. So either the entire population of Larkrise got up at dawn and walked for 2 hours, or there's a bus service that we never hear about. Well, somebody, probably the blacksmith, has invented teleportation.
You're listening to the Wake Up to Wogan podcast from BBC Radio 2.
Now, the president at this rate passed, Mrs. Paddy, that's Major Paddy, bought me a book for Christmas. Well, titled Don'ts for Men. Yes, but we've seen those don'ts for ladies, which are sort of always have a hot meal ready for him and always look pretty. Now, the book was published in 1913, and written by a woman wishing to impart a wealth of advice to gentlemen of the day. It's a book of nagging, says Major Paddy. Like, for instance, don't forget your wife's birthday. Don't sharpen pencils around the house. Don't complain when she burns the cake. And this is the really different, don't fidget. Is it me, Sir Terry of Pembroke? What, David Small, the rock doctor? Is it me, Britain's heaviest snow for 18 years? Well, they've only just said it on the news again. Hell, that'll have folk all over Wales, Northern England, Scotland and even Ulster in unison howling at the telly. The heaviest fall in the southeast in 18 years, perhaps. However, never mind, David? We certainly didn't cope with it, did we? Now, my wife and I have just popped inside for a break from the heat. Here on the sunny coast of Queensland, we think that if Aussies suffering a 40-degree heatwave can still manage to do a hard day's grafting in the surf, isn't the very least your underlings can do is heed Uncle Bozza's heartfelt plea for no skiving. Well, as a matter of fact, our good chap who keeps everything going here, Phil, tells me that he was in the supermarket yesterday, and there was a chap on the phone with his six-pack under his arm and his steak for his dinner, just wandering gently around and on the phone saying, "Oh, no, we've had a foot and a half of snow. I haven't been able to get out of the house." Deadliest mentioned yesterday. Yes, I heard this, and I thought, while we're all suffering in various ways, can we just hold it down on the global warming? Anyway, global warming, this fella said, caused by the fridge. Yeah, brought to my mind a previous experience I once had, said Juan. Having heard something similar before I got rid of the fridge, you see, I got rid of the fridge for a time and used a good old-fashioned pantry, and by Jove, it was an awful lot greener. Trouble was, everything was green. The cheese, the rashers, the snorkers, and the pong left something to be desired as well. So, in the end, I went back to the fridge. I don't mind doing me bit, but there are limits. Yes, there are. And unfortunately, some of these people don't know what the limits are. So, no doubt, the more observant, honestly, you can't either open your mouth or lift a finger in this country without somebody pointing out the error of your ways. Dr. Barry Meatyard says, no doubt the more observant among your togs will have noticed on the BBC News last night that the Union flag on the Prime Minister's desk in the conference with the Chinese President was upside down. Since flying the Union flag in such a way is a traditional signal of distress, I wonder what message this sends to China. I wonder what message the completely untreated roads of London sent to the Prime Minister of China yesterday. In this financial crisis, don't just curl up and cry. It's time for taking stock and new ideas to try. So let the snow keep coming. Let it settle 10 feet high, then box it up and sell it to the ski slopes in Dubai. Good thinking. Sam and Sandwich, is there a bad weather manual for TV news reporters? Well, as I've said before, TV editors think we're all complete numpties and that they have to have a picture for every single word that's spoken. Both BBC and ITV send the reporters out into almost blizzard-like conditions. They both sent crews to film kids and their parents sledging in the snow. They both had reporters outside schools. The BBC sent a reporter out with the RAC. ITV sent a reporter out with the AA. Nick Robinson reported from outside Parliament alongside a snowman. ITV's reporter was outside Parliament alongside a snowman. And it had to be admitted the BBC snowman was superior to that of ITV. Probably Nick Robinson built it himself, And good morning, this is from G. Just a word, will you? Scots Gaelic is pronounced Gaelic, and Irish Gaelic is pronounced Gaelic. Thank you for that, G. Nice to know. Your esteemed correspondent. That wasn't an esteemed correspondent, that was me, Michael Bentley, talking about the NFL and the great final they had between the Cardinals and the Steelers. But Australia, they play that exciting game called Australian Rules Football, yes. And they say to you things like, Australian Rules, the greatest game in the world. Oh, yes. And where else is it played? And it's like the Americans. Pittsburgh win the final. They are the world champions. No, I don't think so. Is it me? Is everyone else as frustrated as me? Yes, Wendy Red Robin. And it's not just the bad weather, it's just frustration. In EastEnders, poor little scared Danielle, yes, she's a little rabbit, isn't she, tells Ronnie, she doesn't, she almost tells Ronnie she's her daughter and then stops herself. So I had a brilliant idea. What I thought was, if she listened to the programme, you say out loud, for goodness sake, Danielle, tell Ronnie you're her daughter. Would surely give her the courage to do so, knowing you and we togs are all behind her. What do you think? No, I don't bother thinking anymore, I just am. I've no doubt you'll be in receipt of messages. Oh, yes, indeed, far too many of them for our own comfort. From people in far-off climes boasting about how hot it is. Perhaps you should remind them, says Walter Butt, of what my granny used to say. It's much easier to get warm if you're too cold than it is to get cool if you're too hot. Well, how true. Your granny was no Aegis, Walter. I'm getting increasingly worried about men these days. This is from Barack Room, a lawyer. Are we turning out a load of wimps who cry for no good reason? On Sunday, at the tennis from Oz, I witnessed Roger Federer crying like a baby with the top lip trembling after being beaten by the bodybuilder. Rod the Rocket Laver was embarrassed when he won. He didn't know where to look. Do you think he cried when he lost or when he won? And then on last night's MasterChef, cooking doesn't get any tougher than it. Pass me the pudding. We were treated to a grown man, and not a southern softy either, a hard nut from the northeast, bubbling away because John and Greg complimented his cooking. Whatever happened to the stiff upper lip? My wife never cries when I compliment her cooking. Grow up, lads. We're men, are we not? We're going to need notice of that question. I get convicted, says Fling Shui, for throwing a trainer at the Chinese Prime Minister. If only they'd let me explain. The shoe is another of those wonderful quality items made by a 10-year-old craftsman and bought from my local supermarket. The sole was coming off. I was returning it under the terms of the guarantee. Well, that's cleared it. I'm sure this will once again help to cement Sino-British relations. And Austin Space. I'm delighted to see Madonna, what a footballer, has given us the opportunity to help her avoid the soup queues during these difficult economic times. Yes, she's returning to the UK this summer. Oh, good news indeed. To perform for us again. And in return, we can each donate £175 plus booking fees, super-duper postage fees, inside leg measurement, to her Recession Buster Fund. So that's right, for a mere £785, a family of 4 can enjoy 2 hours of Madonna this summer. Do you think that we reside on the same planet as these people? No is the answer to that.
You're listening to the Wake Up to Wogan podcast from BBC Radio 2.
At the end of your first sentence in the show, can you please say wibble wobble tippy toe for myself and my nocturnal friends? No. Sorry, Chris. Could you congratulate your BBC TV News colleagues? Well, apparently, I heard Sarah and the Bold Bowls talking about this. A masterful piece of tongue-in-cheek commentary in last night's 10 o'clock news. How did I miss this? The BBC crew had positioned their camera at the bottom of a steep set of ice-covered steps on the exit to Waterloo Station to film commuters trying to get safely to the bottom. Not surprisingly, one poor fellow obliged the camera crew by slipping onto his backside, bouncing down the last 6 steps, before quickly getting back to his feet, trying awkwardly to pretend that nothing happened. It's a bit like Inspector Clouseau, isn't it? Falling down into the basement and then coming back up and saying, "I needed that." This highly amusing footage was accompanied by the reporter saying, "We happened perchance to film this accident in London." I think he may have meant to say, "We happened perchance to film this accident waiting to happen on a set of steep ice-covered steps where we had coincidentally set up our camera." They do like their fun, don't they? Great viewing. Can I suggest that for tomorrow's scoop, the news crew lie in wait outside a nursing home? Perchance anything amusing might arise from the classic combination of ice and Zimmer frame. A bit tart. Christmas Carol says, "I've just realised who the 10 o'clock weatherman is. It's Frankie Howard." "Ooh, yes, Mrs." "It was my birthday on Monday," says Mabel Syrup. "I must have had a liqueur chocolate too many, because I apparently told the budgie he's my best friend, and then wanted to write to you and say, 'Love the show.'" No, we don't have anybody writing that kind of stuff to us. Mabel, keep up the good work now. Luckily, my sister Pam confiscated the laptop until I felt less under the weather. That's the euphemism, all right. But don't worry, next morning I'd come to my senses and decided not to bother writing to you at all. What's this then, Maple Syrup? Oh, lolly. Jean Edwards of Hall Green is a lady in her 80s, and a very grand lady, I understand. A big fan of yours. Talking to her on the phone last night, she told me she'd been watching your show on the television and can't get over you look younger every time she sees you. This woman needs an adjustment to her vertical hold, at least. And she added, "I wish I knew the address of his cosmetic surgeon," and then added, "But then I don't think he has had surgery, because he still has a double chin, hasn't he?" I signed the present. Dora. Good morning, Dora. Dora Jar. I signed the present Mr. Jar's pass to go out for the evening with a friend. Too kind, Dora. You're too easy on him. So I could have the girls around for a girly night in, the euphemistically titled girls. I had strategically placed bowls of nibbles round the room. Oh, aren't you the great hostess? And was in the kitchen opening the wine. Wine too? When I heard a choking sound accompanied by, people dying. And one of my friends had helped herself to, instead of the root vegetable crisps, which ought to have been there, a mouthful of my potpourri. Forbes, good morning, Forbes. Dear Jerry, the last time I played the tart for you, Jerry. You may not have noticed it. It's not been mentioned anywhere, but there's been the odd flake of snow recently. Get away with you. Forbes, I myself have been unaffected. I drive a Land Rover. I've had a fine time, bowling along past lesser mortals stuck in the drifts, supporting British industry and warming up the planet in order to melt the snow. No need to thank me. The sense that I'm doing good work is its own reward. Okay. Hey, I'll tell. Can you help us out? We've been looking for this new craze, witters. Or is it twitters? I thought you could be a chief witterer along. Yes, well, of course, according to Libby Purves, that's what we do here. Happy wittering. You could chief witterer, a diddly coat. Yeah. No, it's twitters, isn't it? Did anybody twitter around here? No. We don't even blog. Might I be the first to congratulate Deadly on his Dame Edna impression, which he did earlier in the programme. No, he didn't mean to do a Dame Edna impression, it's just he has inclinations that way. I was a bit confused over the Birmingham content of his Dame Edna script, but nevertheless, I have to say, Rory Bremner, eat your heart out. Tim Gustard says, "Captain, my captain, if one can be sacked for making an off-air remark that the masses complained about because that's their job, how come you and your minions are still working? How come all the newsreaders are allowed to repeat the said word?" Well, Tim Gustard, that's something we're best not to inquire into. Except apart from commenting that the world appears to be gone completely gaga. And the BBC has a new reality show. Yes, we've already had comments on this, the 10 o'clock news. A Schadenfreude on ice. on yesterday's lunchtime news bulletin. I didn't see this either. A news crew was filming opposite some iced steps, waiting for the train commuters to slip over. And boy, did they slip one after another. What fun. Richard of Thriplow. You were talking about Valentine's Day. Well, I wanted just en passant, Anne Hooper. You've obviously not realised it's cancelled in Wales. The 14th? England are playing Wales and the kick-off is 5:30. So where will our Valentines be? And what time will they be getting home? Anne Hooper. There's sometimes greater things than Valentines. As the self-appointed head of customer services for the nation's VMS, variable message signs, on our motorways, I'd like to make a complaint. SpongeBob Grumpypants says, Mrs. Grumpypants and I dared to brave the extreme, bitter cold and treacherous road conditions on Monday to make passage from Liverpool to Plymouth. Good, there's pluck, despite the BBC warnings that most of the roads were closed. Well, Mrs. Grumpypants loaded the car up with blankets and emergency victuals and a shovel, and we bravely set off. And the roads were empty. The conditions at worst were wet. The journey turned out to be trouble-free. However, I counted 18 signs en route warning us to slow down, gritting in progress. And guess what? We never saw a single gritter until we got to Exeter. Yeah, well, that's pretty general, that. And listening to Radio 4 prior to the daily dose of Wogan, it was reported in Australia that, with its searing heat, chaps are going to work in their swimming trunks and flip-flops. Yes, that's Australians for you. And the thought of Wogan on the webcam, lounging in his Speedos, is so disturbing we must all pray for a continuation of the cool spell. At least a promise from the producer that any rise in temperature in the studio doesn't bring out the worst. Or you can rest assured there'll be nobody in here unless we've been told.
You're listening to the Wake Up to Wogan podcast from BBC Radio 2.
Did I hear correctly, says Baz of Wilts? No, not in your case, Baz. You only hear what you want to hear. Did Deadly say there's a strike at the linseed oil refinery? Crikey, how am I going to polish me cricket bat now? And W.G. Grace had the same problem. I've noticed an interesting trend, says Sonia Shue, and one which Togs could lead on. Yes, any opportunity for the Togs to lead the country out of the morass. Coming to the rescue, despite all the worrying redundancies in manufacturing and financial services, thousands of jobs seem to be created in food stores and fast food outlets. Here's a problem. Let's eat our way out of the recession. Terry and the Togs could lead the way, yes, and deadly in the foreground, I can tell you. We have the buns of mass production. Severial parts of the country suffering from the worst of the weather, and a little bit of it falling on my neck of the woods as well, but slushy. Well, according to media reports, we've been credit-crunched, belt-tightened, recessed and depressed. So, again, there's a general upswelling of what can only be described as spurious enthusiasm by Togs here. It's time we fought back, yes, eat more. That's the first thing. But we should be light-hearted, uplifted, upbeat, excited and euphoric. Just using the words makes you feel better, doesn't it? Yes, of course it does, Jan. Talk about self-deception. Why do forecasters always emphasise the negatives? I don't know. It's apparently sells more newspapers. Bob Thurlow, if it snows, there's always worse to come. Oh, the bitter cold. And Monday's forecast was snow with worse to come. So we shut it up, battened the hatches. But it never came. And in the summer, should we have a sunny spell, they say, enjoy it while it lasts. Of course, come rain, sun, snow, or any extremes outcome, doom and gloom merchants finish us off with global warming. How did we manage 50 years ago? Bob, they don't know their bone. Bob Thurlow. And, yes, here's a complaint. Rob McConnell of the Broughton Home for the Aghast. Good morning, Rob. Yeah. Now that you've got the nation taking the Eurovision seriously again, it's not me. No, it's not. I'm merely an observer. I have not got the nation taking the Eurovision seriously, although I think it's a bit of a job. But the great Andrew Lloyd Webber is doing that. Could you lead a campaign to stop whingers and whiners going on about the weather and how unsafe it all is? There's nothing I can do about whingers and whiners. There are people who sit by their fireplaces only looking for an opportunity to whinge and whine. And frozen greetings from good, John John Clark, who's from Norfolk, says, a quick word. He's just come back from a ski trip to France. Oh, how the rich live. A quick word re our skiing holiday chalet accommodation last week. Could you pass on my thanks to the Moscow State Ski Boot tap dancing team who resided in the chalet above us? They commenced practice daily at 6:30 in the morning, ensuring we were all up and ready for the slopes. Hangover in tow. And Clodagh Rubbish, who keeps an eye on things and takes a porky view. Them Justice Numpties over the pond. Mr. Miliband said they said nothing of the sort, but anyway, saying they can't release any details because of Washington's stance. This is nonsense. From what I saw on Inauguration Day, says Clodagh, the U.S. Justice Ministers can't release any details because they can't string a sentence together. Fetch a cloth, Granville. I was watching Ben Fogle and his intrepid team last week, tackling the deepest canyon. And sit down, Ben, for goodness sake. Give us a break, all right? Just 5 minutes. Don't move. When they arrived at a raging torrent, suddenly, as if by magic, they were clad in bright yellow waterproof clothing, and a large rubber dinghy appeared. Where did that come from? I didn't see anyone carrying it down the steep, rock-strewn paths. And another thing, how did the steel cable across the river get there? I thought they were all on their own. I'm not so sure. Yeah, I do think sometimes fall into the trap of thinking they're on their own and things could be terrible. What about the sound man and the cameraman and the makeup girl and the wardrobe lady? Wednesday morning, overjoyed to see a gritter passing by our window, only to be followed closely by a road sweeper. So the answer is obvious. Don't leave it down too long. Someone might nick it. Recycle your road salt, like Bath Council. Monty. Good morning, Monty. Why have we not been told the truth about the interruption to last night's football match? Well, we've heard enough about it, certainly. It seems to have taken a lot of your fancy last night. Fancy's the word I'm looking for. Clearly caused, says Slim Paul Mind. It was clearly caused by the wrong type of snow falling on the television aerials. Yeah, well, as I say, probably heads have rolled because ITV seemed to be transfixed after the event last night. Just stuck on ITV. Nothing moving. So, you'd think they had advertising problems. Well, it just shows you. Frida Mayer says, during last Sunday's Super Bowl, which is a fantastic game between Arizona Cardinals and Pittsburgh Steelers, millions watched worldwide, as NBC's advert breaks totally collapsed. None were shown, with the ads costing $1.25 million a piece just to broadcast. You can bet your life the poor guy looking after the cables at NBC picked up his P45 pretty sharpish.
You're listening to the Wake Up to Wogan podcast from BBC Radio 2.
It's coming down from where I'm sitting through the latticed windows of the BBC. I see a steady fall of sleety snow. And when I got up this morning in Lochrise, it almost immediately started to sleety snow. And as I left the house, thunder and lightning. I thought thunder and lightning was supposed to happen in sunnier days, warmer days. No, we're getting everything now. And Bill says, I was amazed to see the BBC Mandarins are succumbing to the relentless propaganda put about by your show. They have your podcast listed under entertainment. I feel obliged to point out that Wake Up Logan is to be endured, not enjoyed. That's the whole point of life, isn't it? It's a vale of tears. Poor old Deadly of Dudley only made it to read the 8:30 news yesterday. How delightfully cruel you are. Yes, and how he loves it. Have you ever thought of secretly attaching a huge piece of elastic to the back of his waistband and giving him just enough time to run to the news cupboard? He'd have barely sat down before suddenly being yanked off his chair, leaving a pair of specs hanging in mid-air, Tom and Jerry style, as he flies off down the corridor with a brummy screech. It's a wonderful thought. If only we could make it happen, Alison or Nung. I've got a quotation from Karl Marx here somewhere. Ah, yes. Owners of capital will stimulate the working class to buy more and more of expensive goods, houses and technology, pushing them to take more and more expensive credits until their debt becomes unbearable. And the unpaid debt will lead to bankruptcy of banks, which will have to be nationalized, and the state will have to take the road, which will eventually lead to communism. Das Kapital, Karl Marx, 1867. That man was ahead of his time. As a man of letters, I owe it to the nation to reveal the scientific truth. How do we know that you're a man of letters, Professor Batty? You can't just call yourself a professor, you know. Let's have no more of this, I battled through the snow to broadcast to you. Yes, a simple truth, a simple spectral analysis reveals your program is recorded with elementary dubbing being used to integrate the news and travel, so no doubt you're tucked up in bed waiting for the lady of the house to fetch your morning tea and toast. There are so many inaccuracies in that statement, particularly about the lady of the house and the tea and the toast, that I will not gratify you with a comment. This is a copy of what I sent, what you sent to the BBC Breakfast this morning. Yes, Stuart, your reporter, Phil Mackey in North Worcestershire, that's February 5th, 2009, said, "Where I am stood," he obviously should have said, "where I'm standing. This is no example from the BBC. Also, your homepage headline is about Graham Norton staring in the show La Cage aux Folles. What's he staring at? Enlighten. I can see no point in paying good money to go and watch someone staring. Look, everybody makes mistakes, okay? Particularly those in charge of the salt. I was listening to your radio extravaganza, and during the main news bulletin read by the Alan Decadent, the well-known spell check, I was taken aback by the running of a story concerning David Beckham, a footballer with a boy's voice stuck in a man's body. Among these days of doom and gloom, or as we know them, Robert Peston, do we really need to know that David Beckham would like to stay in Milan? You know, I want to stay in Milan, you know. I myself, a few weeks ago, expressed a view I'd like to stay in Santa Cruz de Tenerife for the new year. It didn't even reach the pages of the Clapham upon Upham Evening Chronicle. This finely oiled David Beckham publicity juggernaut is hurtling out of control. What next? Hugh Edwards informing us David Beckham would like to stay at home this Saturday night, as Victoria's ordered in Arakan chips, a bottle of Leapfrau Milch, and the newly remastered Trumpton trilogy on Blu-ray. I know what immense influence you wield. Look, Warmington Muffet, let me tell you, I have no influence whatsoever. Why not stop knocking Britain? Pat, Baskerville. Any relation of the Hound. Stop knocking Britain about the snow. Well, we haven't been. And start praising all those people who've carried on throughout the last week of disruption. Yes, indeed, all those people continue to provide vital services.
This was a podcast from BBC Radio 2. Get more information now at bbc.co.uk/Radio 2.
Wake up to